Penny Poole.
Hey, good evening, everyone. This is such a stoic event with us having our first general meeting. We are happy to have you aboard. There is so much to talk about, but what we're going to do is do some housekeeping and get this out of the way so we can talk to our scheduled guests. We're excited about having the candidates for the Board of Commission Chair position in Gwinnett County. I would like to recognize officers of the Gwinnett NAACP, and our first Vice President is Ray Harvin. Our Treasurer is Jacques Laurent. Our Assistant Treasurer is Princess Hawkins. We have Simeon Harris as a member at large. We have Amirah Lawson as our PAC Chair. We have Pete Toggerson as our parliamentarian. We have Denise Ora Williams as our membership chair. We have Michael Hill as a member at large, Jewel Evans as a member at large, and we thank each, and we also have a new legal redress chair, that is Dr. Deborah James. We want to thank each of you for what you do and the future that we're walking with the Gwinnett NAACP. And with that, let's start this meeting. Everyone's excited. Let's turn it over to Amirah Lawson, our PAC chair. Amirah?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining us on the call. We have a full room. So given the difficulties that we have with COVID-19, we are so excited to have you here. And we are also very excited to have the candidates for county, for the chairperson for our county commissioner seat here in Gwinnett County. We have 6 candidates on board with us this evening, and I'm going to briefly introduce them. They will also introduce themselves, but I will start off with Lea Thompson Jr., who is he has experience as a city attorney and a former state representative down in the Capitol. Curt Thompson, who is also a Democrat, an attorney, and a former state senator. David Post, who is a Republican. He is a sworn officer of the law and a security consultant. We have Desmond Nembhard, who is a Democrat and a business owner here in the county. Andy Morgan, who is also a Democrat and an international law attorney. And finally, we have Nicola Hendrickson, who is a Democrat, and she is the Community Outreach Director for Gwinnett County. So as Simeon has pointed out, we're going to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. We have 4 questions and then a closing. So we want to welcome you. We're so glad and so honored to have you here with us tonight. And we're really interested in weighing your responses because we all want to go in and be informed when we vote. Well, I won't say go in because, again, we're encouraging everyone to vote by mail. So when we vote by mail, we want to be very informed. So thank you all, and I'm going to turn it back over to Simeon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amirah, our PAC chair. Again, so happy to have each of you here. And if we could do some introductions, and I'd like to give each of you 45 seconds to introduce yourself and tell us a little more. And so we'll start our introductions with Nicola Hendrickson. So Nicola Hendrickson.
Thank you. Well, that's the first I've ever been Zoom bombed. I've heard of it, but never have actually experienced it. But again, I want to thank the NAACP and the members of the NAACP for hosting this forum and hosting us today. My name is Nicola Hendrickson, and I'm running to be the next Gwinnett County Commission Chairman. I live in Lilburn, Georgia, with my husband and 6-year-old son, Caden. We came here in 2006. I fell in love with this county and this community, and I've enjoyed making it my home. My background is in social work. I served as the Associate Director for the Gwinnett Coalition for Health and Human Services for 8 years, and we were tasked with driving decisions around addressing poverty, homelessness, food insecurity, directly impacting residents here in Gwinnett County. I recently served as a division director for Gwinnett County government, operating our community outreach program. And the purpose of that initiative was to build bridges with our very diverse constituents, and also provide programs and offer programs to open and make government more accessible to residents here in Gwinnett County. And I've held that position for 5 years and recently stepped down this past February to focus on the campaign trail. And while I realize that Gwinnett County does a lot of things well, I realize that there still are a lot of challenges, including a lot of systemic inequities that I would like to address as Commission Chair. And I'm looking forward to serving in a greater capacity than I have. I'm very involved in our community. I serve on a number of boards and still continue to serve as the voice of people that have historically been underrepresented in decision making. And happy to be here and happy to have this conversation and dialogue tonight.
Thank you so much. Next, we will go with Andy Morgan.
Good evening. Again, my name is Andy Morgan. I'm a local business attorney. I do primarily transaction law. I've been in Gwinnett County since 2007. I've been practicing law since for the last 25 years. And my practice is based in Lawrenceville. I'm a sole proprietor. So that's my business. That's what I do for a living, essentially. Basically supporting business owners, advising them on transactions, whether it's starting up, acquiring a business, and basically being an advocate. Aside from that, I'm also engaged in the community. I served on the board of Gwinnett County Habitat since 2014 to last year, 2019, trying to provide affordable housing for residents of the county. I've also been engaged as area manager for Gwinnett County elections because I believe in the importance of people being able to vote and exercise their rights. So basically, that's some of the activities I've been doing in the county, separate and apart from what I do for a living. I am a father. I have a young son who attends high school here in Gwinnett County. And one of the main reasons why I'm running for this position is because I want to continue to serve my community and my county. And I think that this is one of the best ways to do so. Local government is one of the most effective ways to make a change in people's lives. And I want to ensure that the future of this county will be one that he's going to want to be able to come back and continue to work and develop and grow in. And so I'm looking forward to the conversation tonight. Thank you to the NAACP for hosting us, and looking forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andy. Next, we'll have Desmond Nembhard. Come on up, Desmond.
Okay, yes, hi. Good evening again. Thanks to Ms. Poole and the NAACP for giving us this opportunity this evening. I moved to Gwinnett County 12 years ago in 2008. I am a small business owner here in Gwinnett. I love Gwinnett. I have a passion for this county. The reason why I'm running, again, is because of the passion I have for here, and I think we need new leadership in this county. For the diversity of this county, we don't have that kind of representation. Gwinnett County is, again, somewhere I love dearly, and I am looking forward to this dialogue this evening and to see what we can offer.
Thank you so much, Desmond. Well, next we will have Curt Thompson. So Curt, please come up and introduce yourself.
I'm Curt Thompson. I was born in Decatur, but raised in South Gwinnett, actually. Attended Camp Creek Elementary. I played ball at Mountain Park. I graduated from Shiloh High. I'm a lawyer now with offices in Norcross and Duluth, but I served 16 years in the legislature, 2 years as a state rep, and then 14 years as a state senator. Served on the Appropriations Committee and Rules Committee, served on Appropriations for 12, that's the Budget Writing Committee. Served on the Rules Committee for 4 years, and rose up to the level of actually being a committee chair, even though we were in a Republican majority. I've also served on boards in the community. I did grow up here, so I've been a member of the NAACP. I'm a member of this chapter, and I do thank y'all for doing this, or thank us for doing this. I think it's important work. But I was a member even way back in 2004 in a previous incarnation of the Gwinnett NAACP when Reverend Stewart was running this organization, and have long been committed to its work in our community. Served on the board of Habitat for Humanity, the board of the the Norcross Cooperative Ministry, and Aid Gwinnett, which is now called Positive Impact, which was the county HIV and AIDS service agency. And, you know, I look at this as a huge opportunity to continue serving Gwinnett County. There's a lot that we could do to address some of the equity issues in the county, both in terms of how the county does business and hires, but in terms of also just how the county embraces its diversity and owns its diversity, and make sure that our resources are distributed equitably, make sure that our employment looks like the county. So that's what I'm hoping to work on and continue serving the county in this way.
Thank you so much, Curt. Next, we will bring up Lea Thompson. Lea Thompson, come on up and introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the NAACP providing us with this opportunity to get together tonight and share our views. My name is Lea Thompson. I'm running to be a Democratic candidate for chairman of the Gwinnett County Commission. I'm a lawyer here in Gwinnett County. I've lived in Gwinnett County my entire life. I have a law practice in Lawrenceville. I live in Lawrenceville with my wife, Connie. We recently celebrated our 30th anniversary, and this weekend we actually did it virtually, but we celebrated my daughter graduating from college, which was a unique experience during this time. I've been a lawyer in Lawrenceville for almost 40 years. I represent the cities of Duluth, Sugar Hill, Grayson, and Lawrenceville, and our firm also represents the Gwinnett County Board of Education. As a result of that, I have a passion for local government. It's what I've done for my entire career, working with local government officials and providing them with expertise in the area of legal issues regarding local government. I've also been active in the Democratic Party, served on the executive committee of the Democratic Party for over 30 years, and on the state Democratic Party for over 20 years. I'm an elder in the Lawrenceville First Christian Church and was a charter member of the Gwinnett Tech Foundation and the Central Gwinnett Cluster Foundation. I believe that I've got some unique experience and qualifications for this job, and we're going to have a lot of challenges as we go forward in the next couple of years. And I appreciate this opportunity to share my views with you and would ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lea Thompson. We will try David Post one more time. It looks like you were able to come off of mute just a second ago. So David, can you hear us? David, you there? All right. It looks like we may have some technical difficulties there. David, if for some reason you're able to come on later, I'll be happy to talk you through these exact same questions so they can be posted as well. So thank you for being here. Sorry we're unable to hear you or see you. With that in mind, we will jump right in to our questions. And in this section, we're going to be asking some questions. We're going to give everyone time to answer those questions. And then from there, we're going to close out after those questions and give you an opportunity to speak and close. So Penny, did you want to kick off our first question there?
Sure, I would be happy to. And again, all of you, thank you for being so patient with us. And we will get through this and get it out there so that people can hear what you're thinking and how the direction that you are going to be moving in. So the first question we would like to ask you this evening is, considering that the county does not use affirmative action to grant contracts, what will you do to ensure it is equitable for Black businesses to compete in our county contracts? And who would like to start that? Simeon, who did we?
I will start with Nicole on this one.
Okay, great.
Well, you're absolutely, that's a great question. Thank you for that question, Penny. And you're absolutely right. The county does not have an affirmative action policy, nor do we have an equal opportunity employment policy, which is why in the past we've had to return millions of dollars because we did not have any mechanism in place to track compliance or even track how we were recruiting, retaining, hiring people of color in positions of leadership, as well as contracts. And so as the community outreach director, one of the initiatives that we launched was our Disadvantaged Business Enterprise. We relaunched our Disadvantaged Business Enterprise to not only educate businesses about contract opportunities, but also infer compliance to ensure that our departments were being intentional about awarding such contracts to minority small businesses. We hosted a series of educational workshops on how to do business with Gwinnett County. We opened the doors for government for small businesses, but the thing that was missing was that policy. And as commission chair, that is something that I would work to fight for, because we can't track compliance without having the policies in place, but also crafting our vision and our core values, because I think that we should be driven and governed by core values. And our core values don't even specify or express our commitment to diversity, inclusion, equity, and opportunity. And I think that that is something that we need to revisit, and I would like to do that as the next chair.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Next, we'll have Andy Morgan.
I agree. This is a major issue we need to focus on within the county in terms of making sure that the opportunities for contracting and employment is equitably made available throughout the county based on, regardless of nationality, race, or anything else. What I would focus on basically is addressing the policy issues, making sure that we are being inclusive in terms of our practices, making sure that we're reducing barriers for opportunities for people to get an opportunity to get first information, and then also access to those who are providing the opportunities for those contracting. Training also is something that's extremely important. I would try to ensure that information is provided in the communities that are underserved and do not have access, that they know that we have training coming up so they can get access to these programs, understand how to apply in order to get involved in the bidding process, and also get some training to understand what we're looking for on the county level in terms of how to apply for these opportunities and walking them through step by step so that they are prepared. This is something we need to do probably on a quarterly basis so people can get in, so we can get new, fresh opportunities for people to get in and have an opportunity to participate. The other thing is I want to make the process also more transparent. The way that the process currently works is it's somewhat subjective in terms of how these bids are given out and the grading system and the scale. And that process needs to be more transparent to ensure that it's being equitably shared throughout the county and throughout the community so that we can have some of those resources doled out here in the county on a more equitable basis. And those are some of the things I would look to implement. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Desmond?
Yes, sir. So I myself think it's a policy issue. For a county this diverse, we have to make sure that there's equality right across the board. Everyone should get an opportunity, and in doing so, we will have to I would have to make sure that we have some kind of training also, have workshops. We will have, I know we have a list of all our businesses, whichever minority it is, whether they're Hispanic, whether they're Black, whatever, Asian, set up workshops where they can get a better understanding of how the process works and to make sure it benefits everyone. We can't have a county like this and then only a certain group getting the opportunity while others does not. So I will definitely focus on policies and how we get around to making sure everyone get their fair share.
Thank you so much, Desmond. Next, we'll have Curt Thompson.
So I think all of us are in agreement. This has to be an important thing, and it requires leadership. Gwinnett is the most diverse county in the Southeast. I represented the most diverse state Senate seat in the country. Who we do business, who we employ should look like that. Who we do business with should, who our vendors are, who we contract and subcontract with should look like that. And that should be like the goal from day one. And it should be high in everyone's mind every time we're putting out something. I think that we have to, that's one of the reasons why I've advocated having a non-discrimination ordinance. Not just so that that applies to things like housing discrimination, but so that we are holding ourselves accountable in our employment practices and our contracting and our subcontracting practices. Right now, the way the RFP and the contracting process goes, one thing that has to change, it gives most of those contracts, first of all, you can write those RFPs so that you can't tell it on its face, but it's basically favoring a buddy. And we've got to put an end to that process where it's favoring existing contractors. I think that one of the things that commonly happens in our contract bid process nowadays in the county is that they give weight to people who've already had contracts with the county, which basically allows the same 5, 6, 7 contractors that have always done business with the county to continue doing business with the county. And I think that we need to end that so that we can allow newer businesses, millennial-owned businesses, female-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, businesses that who are owned by members of our international community and our vibrant international community to also do business with the county. And it can't just be sort of grandfathering in existing companies and existing family operations year after year after year. So I think that a non-discrimination ordinance, doing away with the preferential bid process that gives bid preference to people who've had past contracts, and making sure there's an openness and a standardization to how these contracts are put out for bid. And then we actually have to do the job of going out and recruiting businesses, not just hold a workshop and say, oh, I hope y'all come to this workshop, but actually go out and finding companies in our diverse communities that are willing to, and saying, hey, can you, would you be willing to participate in the government bidding process and make sure that we do that? It will take more work on behalf of the county commission, but we've got to do that, and we've got to make that a priority so that our county looks like our county.
Thank you. Next we will have Lea Thompson.
Well, thank you. This is a major issue that the county needs to address, and although training programs and trying to involve businesses through training is something that we certainly need to do, it's not nearly enough. As we try to recruit minority businesses and involve minority businesses in our process more, it's going to take leadership from the top. We're going to have to set policies that is our intention and that's what we want to do in the process. And it's also going to take, as a city attorney for almost 40 years, I've been involved in writing hundreds of bids and requests for proposals. And it's very important that the people who are in charge of that do that in a non-discriminatory manner. If you design a project in such a manner that you know who's going to get the bid, that just cannot be tolerated, and we need to stop that process. Too often over in Gwinnett County through the past years, those contracts have been determined by people who have always done those contracts and people who have large corporations and have the ability to do it, and we write the contracts so that it favors those people. We need to make sure that we write those contracts, write those proposals in such a manner that we have a wide, diverse group who can bid on those projects and who can put in proposals for those projects. And we also need to do recruiting and go to other areas and other governments who have had more success than this than Gwinnett County and see what they've been doing and pick up on some of those proposals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. We will go to our next question, and this one is a continuation of that of the previous question there, which is the Black population in Gwinnett is almost at 30%. However, without the affirmative action program or an ordinance, there are very few Black managers within county government. Very few Black folks hold leadership positions within county government here. If you become the county commission chair, will you fight to, one, reinstitute affirmative action, or what will you do to ensure that the employment within the county is more reflective of our diverse population here in Gwinnett? And we'll start that one with Andy.
Thank you for the question. That is an issue we definitely need to address in Gwinnett County. Right now, our upper level management is not reflective of the county as a whole. And when we talk about policies, we did the last time, we talk about policies of ensuring that we are equitable and also ensuring that we are diverse and inclusive in terms of how we do our hiring practices. Or that's going to involve going out and making sure that we are looking for candidates in all different avenues and all different areas to make sure that we are being as wide as we can as far as as far as creating opportunities for folks to be able to participate in the jobs process and the application process. The other thing is internally, we need to make sure right now, I believe at the lower levels, we are being more inclusive. There's more diversity. We need to show the folks who are currently employed with the county that there is an opportunity for growth as long as they stay within the county and perform. So we should have clear promotion tracks for people in order to be able to move up the ranks, as well as opportunities for mentorship and training so that folks can be able to move up in a manner that can ensure that the continued diversity of folks who move up through the channels throughout the county. To the extent we can put in place an affirmative action policy, that is something that I would advocate for in order to ensure that we are holding ourselves accountable to the practice that we intend to put in place to make sure we produce diversity throughout the county. So those are some of the things that I would like to see implemented: proper training, expanded recruitment, and to ensure we're being inclusive throughout our recruitment process to make sure that we're reaching all ethnicities and groups, and moving forward in that way to make sure we continue to grow diversity. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Next, Desmond.
Yes. So like one of my main platform points is about inclusive government and all-inclusive government. And with the county this diverse, we have such great talent here, such great talent. So yes, I would definitely go in search to make sure that everyone get the opportunity, whether you're Black, Hispanic, Asian. As I said, we have a very, very diverse county. There are many ways we can go about getting minorities into management. We can look from within, and we can also have students come in from colleges such as, you know, the Black colleges, if we want to go that route. But there are many ways that we can get people of color to be included in management in the county. One thing I know for sure is definitely looking within from what we have within the county right now as far as employees, and move from there, because the experience does matter. And that's one thing you have to make sure you have. You just don't want to go and hire anyone. So people who are already within, that's a key place to start looking.
Thank you. Next, we will have Curt Thompson.
Okay. Well, again, you know, I'll go back, you know, in my platform, if you go to my website, curtforgwinnett.com, it's always been there to have a non-discrimination ordinance. And I think that has to apply not just to, you know, in the areas of housing and employment broadly, but the county has to apply it to itself. I think that whoever the next county commissioner I chair is, I know if it's me, I want us to have an actual EEO office like other counties have, and actually work on compliance with equal opportunity, have a way for people to come and make complaints and have those addressed at that level without having to go into HR, but have a separate office so that they don't feel like they're tanking their chances of ever getting a promotion again by reporting something. I think that we have to, you know, look at this from the top down, and it will require leadership. I've said that if you go and look at, you know, entry-level employment in the county, we do an okay job, not great, but an okay job of making sure our entry-level employees look like the county. And the moment you ask for a supervisor, it's suddenly 1984, you know, or 1987. And so it's not just at the upper levels, it's at the middle levels, it's at the supervisor levels. It's where the problem starts. And I think that that's going to require leadership. I think the county commission, the next county commission chair, may have to have a more assertive role with the county administrator, or whoever the next county administrator is, if it's going to be a next county administrator, and possibly have those department heads and assistant department heads come before the commission for approval, so that we can be watching, minding the store, and making sure that in fact we make sure those department heads understand our mission and understand, and that they look like the county, so that rises up. And then we're going to have to do more than say, well, we accept applications. We're going to have to go out and do recruitment. And whatever our diversity outreach office is that we have is going to do more than go to festival and fashion shows. They're going to have to actually go out and work with our HR department on recruiting folks, so that we can actually make sure that over time, and that's not to blame anyone. I'm just saying, you know, if you're only given the authority to go to festivals, then you only go to festivals. We've got to make sure that our diversity outreach is about how do we bring that diversity into the county and give it some teeth and give it an actual mission.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Lea Thompson.
Thank you. Well, once again, this issue deals with leadership. It starts at the top, and the policies that we set at the top, and what we put in place as far as training of our employees and hiring of our employees. One thing that I think we can learn from is look at people who do things. We've represented the Gwinnett County Board of Education for the last 30 years or so. Francis Davis, who's been in charge of HR at that organization, has done a good job of recruiting folks. And they've also done a good job of setting up an in-house training program where they take individuals who are in the process and train them to move up into leadership process and go into leadership roles in that system. We need to do something similar in Gwinnett County so that we're actually training our younger employees who are doing a good job and training them to move up and go into higher level employment. And we actually need to go out and recruit a diverse work group. And as Curt said, that means more than just going out to a job training process. It means targeting where you're going and looking for opening positions where you can get a diverse workforce to come into the county government.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Nicola Hendrickson.
Yes, having worked for the county, I have something to say about this. The county is still run by white men. And I will tell you who is grossly underrepresented in leadership positions is women of color. You won't see a single woman of color in a department leadership position, in the secondary position, in third level position, middle management. They're all the line workers. I was as high as it got in terms of being in a cabinet and a leadership position out of the Board of Commissioners office. And oftentimes women of color are tasked with being the person that's gonna solve and be the end all be all to solving systemic racial issues. And so oftentimes I was scapegoated. So I will just go ahead and put that out there. And when you have decades of systemic racism that is running rampant in the county and you can't do anything about it, it's very frustrating. I was left very frustrated in positions where, you know, I had to deal with the public when one of my commissioners was calling a civil rights icon a racist pig. I've had to deal with a lot of the backlash from the community when we were having issues and being sued for things that should have already been in place. Like, these are things that my people should not have to fight for. And oftentimes the issues were always put on my back. And I felt that if there were policies in place that prevented that in the first place, we could have created more avenues for access to equity and opportunity for people of color and communities of color. If our core values had stated that we are going to be a county that's committed to equity, opportunity, and fairness and access for all, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in with all of the lawsuits that we're getting. With regards to voting, hiring practices, our service delivery model, it all starts from the top. It starts from leadership. You have to have representation, and you shouldn't just have representation for the sake of having representation, just as somebody to be the face of it, but you really have to be intentional and have intentional dialogues about what you want to do to change. Being that I was on the inside and have experienced that firsthand, I'm committed to tearing down those decades-long systemic racial policies, programs, our service delivery model, and all of those that have prevented people of color from accessing opportunities. So that's my commitment. That is what I'm committed to doing as the next commission chair. I think the way to do that is to elect leaders that reflect that struggle and understand that.
Thank you. All right, our next question. Penny, did you want to go with our next question? You might be muted there. All right, well, I will go with our next question here. And that question is, what will you do to ensure organizations like the NAACP has access to decision makers within the county? And we will start this one with Desmond.
Yes. Okay, so one of my things is teamwork. I consider organizations such as the NAACP and others, I consider them as partners. And I would make sure that organizations such as this does have an input in certain things, because it represents a certain segment of our community. And if we want to see equality for all, that's where organizations such as this would come in very handy, very useful. So definitely I would find a way to make sure that organizations such as the NAACP are consulted on certain things to get the input from them.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Curt Thompson.
So, well, for starters, I'm a member, and I've been, every time we've had an active chapter, I've been an active member. I think part of it is being open and always having an open door. We've got to have a more open government. That's ranges from our contracting and employment practices to how we interact with the community. And for me, the NAACP is something I've been a part of for years. I don't just show up with my name tag during election year. I volunteer on stuff. I've always tried to be an active member, not just a dues-paying member. So it's incredibly important to me with regard specifically to the NAACP that they always have a seat at the table, and that we have an open door to all the civil groups, whether that's the Urban League, the SLC, any of these other groups that are active in Gwinnett County, and as well as groups that advocate on behalf of like Galeo, and groups that advocate for Latino rights and the Asian American Advocacy Foundation and other groups as well. They all have to, one, it's including them, it's inviting them, it's asking them to be a part of things, it's asking them to be on committees, it's asking them to serve. Folks in the Gwinnett NAACP live in Gwinnett. We've got to have them on committees. That way they have a seat at the table. That way we are all working on this together. And then our leadership, whether it's the county commission chair, when I'm county commission chair, or other county commissioners, need to go to their meetings too. I mean, it can't just be a one-way street of everyone's got to come to the mountain. Sometimes the mountain sometimes the county has to go out as well and make a point of that. And that's part of what leadership is. So I have always worked on that when I was in the legislature. I've always worked on that when I was a community advocate. I worked on that when I ran a CID. I will continue to work on that and continue to make that a priority.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Lea Thompson.
Thank you. Well, I think reaching out to organizations such as the NAACP and other organizations that provide for wide-ranging views in our county is an important task, and it's an important task for the chairman to show leadership on. I was recently talking to one of our ministers at a large African-American church who indicated that he had not really had any contact from the county in years, that they were not reached out to on a regular basis. And so some of that is building relationships. It's knowing people like Miss Poole. It's knowing people who are involved in the Ebony Society. It's knowing people who are involved in these community organizations and working with those. And yes, we can put them on a committee, or we can put them on different aspects, but we also need to make sure we listen to them. Putting somebody in a room and just for the process of having somebody in the room doesn't accomplish anything if you're not listening to those people, if you're not putting their views into effect, and you're actually engaging them in conversation and what needs to be done. And I think that needs to be a proactive, something that's done proactively by the county, as we reach out to these organizations. If we have issues with voting rights, we reach out. Give you an example as a city attorney, when the cities had to be the first ones to put Spanish-speaking language ballots in, the county didn't have to do it yet, state didn't have to do it yet. The cities reached out. We had a meeting with Galileo and said, what can we do? How can we do this better? And how can we carry this on? And those are the types of things we need to do at the county level.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Nicola Hendrickson.
That is a great question. And when I served as the community outreach director, that is exactly what we did, and what we sought to do was to build bridges with our very diverse organizations that were here in Gwinnett County. And the outreach program was not just a means of attending festivals or attending cultural fashion shows or whatever the term was, but it was establishing partnerships. The county can partner with the chambers of commerce, the community improvement districts, and all of these other entities. However, we have to also be intentional about partnering with our local organizations that provide a cultural experience, but also an opportunity for others to learn about those communities. And so our effort was really to elevate and highlight the different diverse communities that were here in this county. And not only did we partner on events to help sponsor some of these events and help expand their outreach and their inreach, but we also invited them in to serve on our boards. We served on their boards. I think if we can become chamber members, we can become members of the various organizations as well, because the goal really is to open that two-way street to local government and to build those bridges. And you do that by nurturing those relationships. And sometimes that does mean attending a festival. Sometimes that does mean being visible. Sometimes you have to meet communities where they are, not always expect them to come to you. And so that was what I did as the community outreach program director. And I stand by the efforts that we did. I felt that it started to move the needle on building grassroots level relationships with communities that have historically been underrepresented. And I've gotten nothing but very positive feedback, because prior to me coming on board, that had never been the case. They had never been identified as a group that was important enough to step outside of the courthouse to go into their community and learn about their culture.
Thank you. And last person on this question, Andy Morgan.
I think it definitely starts with outreach, and it starts from the top. It's important, and Nicole's right as far as ensuring that we're going out into the communities and reaching out to groups and organizations who represent those communities. So we're hearing their voices, and that should be done not just by the staff, but by the chair as well. The chair needs to be present so that the chair can hear what's going on in communities and hear what the needs are, and be able to bring that back to the commission as a whole to address the concerns within the community. I'll also have an open door policy. Basically, if there are issues that need to be addressed in the community, we'll be more than willing to sit down and meet with the representatives of the organizations to find out what is going on, what the needs are, and where we might be falling short as a county. The other thing I probably want to do is see that we create certain coalitions. We'll have coalitions of advocates, and basically we can meet on a regular basis with the county chair and basically have those representatives from different organizations come together. Just we have the coalitions that deal with different nonprofit organizations. We have the same thing with advocates with communities, and see what is going on with the communities. That's another way to basically build bridges, not just with the county, but with across communities as a whole. If we can establish something of that sort, then we can then find ways to work together across all communities, as well as filtering back information to the county, so we can understand exactly how we can work better with communities as a whole to address the concerns that are affecting our constituents. So those are some of the things that I would like to see addressed, because quite often when you go out, as was mentioned, a pastor or someone else might say, I've never spoken to the county chair. They might not realize that the county chair is accessible. They might not realize that there are ways to get to the county chair in order to express their concerns. And this is something we have to basically make available, make known within the community, and we'll establish different groups so we can always sit down and have meetings and discuss issues and concerns for the constituents and move forward in that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we'll have Penny. I got you unmuted here, Penny.
Okay, great. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Well, okay, great. I wanted to make sure, because that last question was very long, but I wanted to make sure that everyone was clear on whether or not you would fight to reinstitute affirmative action. So, and I think you probably got it. If we could do just like a round robin on that specific part of the question, and then we'll move swiftly to the other one. So, who ended that series? That was,
we can start with
excuse me?
Curt. If we can start with
Okay.
Curt on that one.
Okay, and again, I wanted to just reiterate the end of that last question. Will you fight to reinstitute affirmative action in Gwinnett County government so that it's more reflective of the diverse population?
So I guess the short answer is yes. The long answer is that I'm aware that may result in litigation. I'm a trial lawyer. I'm used to going to court. I'm not afraid of a fight. You know, I think we need to look at what counties and cities have done, whether that's the city of Atlanta or Fulton County or DeKalb County, see how they institute it so that we can do it well, do it right. I don't want to have a fight just for the sake of having a fight, but the short answer is yes. Yes, you do that.
Thank you, Curt. Lea?
Once again, my answer would be yes as well. And as a local government attorney, I recognize what may come out of that, but that means that you do the policy right the first time. That's why you have good legal analysis when you begin a policy, is you make sure it works right from the beginning as opposed to trying to get sued and trying to fix it after the fact. So yes.
Thank you, Lea. Nicole?
As somebody who would benefit from it, absolutely yes.
Thank you. Andy?
I did say yes in my last response, so yes, to the extent we can implement it, I would definitely seek to do that.
Thank you. And lastly, Desmond?
Most definitely, yes.
Thank you. All right, Penny, do you want to ask the next question there?
And the next question is, what will you do to ensure organizations like the NAACP has access to decision makers in our county? Some of you touched on it earlier, but specifically, what type of an agenda would you have for organizations like us? And we start with Lea Thompson.
Yes, I think we touched on that in the answer to the last question, but the answer is to set policies of trying to be inclusive with all organizations. And it starts at the top by having relationships and reaching out to individuals such as yourself, those who are leaders of other community organizations. It does involve in going out to those organizations as opposed to expecting them to come to you. And some other people have said that, and I agree with that. And so you build those relationships within the community. You reach out to those organizations, and you make sure that their opinion means something, that when they talk to you, you actually listen to what they're saying. I've learned, I've been a mediator for about 30 years. I've learned a lot from mediation. When you mediate at something, often the most important thing is that people understand they're being heard. And that even if you don't always agree on the final conclusion that you come to, that you make sure that people have been heard and that they know their opinion is valued. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Lea. And next, Nicole.
That's a great question, Penny. And as somebody who served, who's a social worker, who served as a community advocate, my job is always to listen to the community and listen to the organization. So I would first put that back on you, Penny. How do you see the county being more intentional about a relationship with the NAACP? What barriers do we need to remove so that that relationship could be fruitful for both the organization and for Gwinnett County government? And how can we continue to build a better relationship with the NAACP? I would like to explore all of those options with the NAACP. I wouldn't leave anything off the table. I think that the direction and the advocacy work that you do is something that is needed in a county that has long held decades of systemic racism. And if we're going to involve an organization, I think that the NAACP needs to be at the table. But again, I would start with positioning that, punting that back to you, Penny, and allowing us to hear from you and your board members and your members.
Well, thank you for that, Nicole. Definitely, we would be ready to answer that question. Definitely. And now, Andy, couldn't you answer that for us, please?
Sure. I think it is important that we do here, especially as the county chair, in order to be able to advocate and in order to be able to represent the concerns of our constituents, you have to understand what they are. And the only way you can do that is to have an open door policy where you can actually meet with representatives of different constituents, different groups, to see what the concerns are, where you think we could be doing things better, and what the county should, what direction the county should be moving in order to address those concerns. So my perspective is definitely open door policy, reaching out as well, and hopefully, as I mentioned before, establishing a sort of coalition where we have advocates come together, not just the NAACP, but all constituent representative organizations come together collectively and have a meeting with me as chair on a regular basis to say, okay, what is going on in your communities? What do we need to be doing? How can we do things better? And that's one way we can actually build bridges across different communities, so we can all recognize that we have probably maybe the same concerns, and also be able to support each other as well as the county as a whole, so we can grow together and hopefully become a more tighter knit community based on the diversity we have here and the issues that we're all experiencing together. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And next, Desmond.
Yes, I think this is pretty simple, you know. Being a leader, I would definitely go to you, Ms. Poole, as a leader, and others who are in charge of other organizations that represent different groups to get your opinion on anything that we're going to do forward, because I want to make sure that whatever we do is going to be beneficial to both county and these other segments of the county. So definitely I would try to have like a monthly meeting with all heads of the different groups, NAACP and the Hispanics and Asians, every group, and not just individually, but together. This way we can all come to some kind of agreement or understanding of what is affecting us as a community and county, and how we can better fix it.
Okay, thank you for that. And if we can, Curt, can you finish this off for us, please?
Sure. Guess I get the back cleanup this time. I think specific to the NAACP, I mean, but that would go out to any other organization as well, and other groups, whether that's faith groups, the international communities. It's definitely does involve going to their activities, and definitely involves, but it also involves bringing them in. It does involve having those meetings, but it's asking them to be on those commissions, on those committees in the county. It's going to groups like the NAACP and saying, hey, we're trying to find, when we're going out looking for for people and talent to be department heads, we need to be going to these organizations saying, can you help us identify and recruit some folks? The same with when we're trying to go out and find minority-owned businesses to participate in this. We need to be going to those organizations saying, whether it's the NAACP, the Ebony Society, some of our historically Black churches, the Salem Initiative, and others, and the ministers, and saying, okay, you know better what the needs are in the community sometimes than us, because you're on the ground, what's going on. And then it has to be that two-way street. Yes, we have to go to your stuff, but yes, y'all have to also have some skin in the game. Y'all are going to have to be willing to serve on some of these committees, and it may not always be on diversity outreach. It may be saying, can you be on the Planning and Zoning Commission? Because if you don't think that doesn't affect equity around the county, you aren't paying attention, or how can you be on this search committee or that search committee, or the library committee that determines where libraries go in the county. So I think it's also it's that two-way street. We've got to come to y'all and go to your activities, ask what your concerns are, but then we also have to ask y'all to be a part of the leadership of the county. It's that simple. It's asking members to be on boards and on committees, so that we do a better job of equitably distributing resources in the county, equitably doing hiring in the county and promoting, so that there is that back and forth, so it becomes more symbiotic and not simply, okay, it's Thursday, it's time, or it's Tuesday, it's time for an NAACP meeting, but there's a more symbiotic nature to it.
Okay, thank you for that. Next, we will go ahead and turn over to Simeon. You want to handle this next question, please?
All right. This next question, we've heard all of you in your answers, and you guys seem to agree on a lot of issues. So in 45 seconds, how do you differentiate yourself from the pack? And we will start this one with Lea Thompson.
Thank you. I think the difference for me and the other candidates, they're all good and fine people, is the fact of my years of experience in local government. As a local government lawyer for almost 40 years, I have done all sorts of things involved in local government. I've handled thousands of zoning cases. I've written zoning ordinances. I've handled redevelopment projects. I've handled all aspects of local government. I've sat in meetings where bonding issues were being discussed and negotiated. And I think I have an area of expertise that I don't think the other candidates have. And I would say that's what distinguishes me from this group. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Nicola Hendrickson.
Well, as somebody who represents the changing face of the county and somebody who has bold ideas and is visionary, I feel that I can represent the voice and the pulse of the community. We're not the same county we were 30, 40 years ago. We are a new county. We are a young county. We're a diverse county. And I feel that the leadership needs to reflect that. I am the only candidate who has worked in local government, in Gwinnett County government, which is a lot different from the cities, which is a lot different from the schools, which is a lot different from the state. I've had direct involvement with driving decisions internally, as well as assisting with the service delivery models at the county level. I've been in touch with the community because I've served the community. I've been a part of the community. I understand the needs because of my background in social work and the health and human service world. I also understand the needs of our diverse constituents because I've served alongside our communities of color in our international and newcomers and refugees and immigrant communities. And so that is what I feel separates me. Also too, I am the only woman in this race, and women overall are grossly underrepresented in local government and leadership positions. And we're also underrepresented, and women of color particularly are underrepresented in elected office.
Thank you. Next, Andy Morgan.
As far as distinguishing myself, I believe in my background plays very well to the position. My experience working with many different types of organizations, whether it's leading them or working through the executive team, dealing with boards of directors, managing situations such as transactions, complex deals. I've worked on transactions in billion dollar range when I was in my late 20s. So I've had to deal with complex issues. A lot of what the county commission chairs have to deal with is dealing with structuring, negotiating issues for the benefit of the county. Dealing with the complex situations, dealing with the finances of the county, as well as dealing with leadership issues. And so I believe my background as far as what I've done in the past and my engagement in the community makes me well suited for this position. And so that's what I think will differentiate me as far as being a collaborator, being an advocate, and also recognizing different issues and concerns that might come up throughout the community. Being a minority, as well as being an immigrant, I think also makes me attuned to some of the issues that those diverse communities might experience. As being a representative for them as well as others in the county to make sure their issues and concerns are represented in an equitable way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Desmond Nembhard.
Yes. So what makes me different is I'm a business owner. You know, I operated a restaurant, opened in 2008 in the recession. I made it through that. I have a background in economics. I have a degree in economics from Rutgers University. I am an immigrant from Jamaica. I'm currently still operating my restaurant, going through this whole COVID situation, and haven't closed a day. So you need a leader who can manage during the rough times and the good times. without panicking, one that can work with partnership, you know, work as a team, and that's what I represent.
Thank you. And lastly, we'll have Curt Thompson.
Sure. I think what differentiates me is that, you know, I have the experience to be able to fight for the folks in Gwinnett County. I have the skill and the vision to fight for the folks in Gwinnett County, and that's my desire and drive, is to fight to make this a better place. I grew up here. I spent 20 years of my life as a progressive lawyer, as a community activist. I've actually had management experience running government entities like a CID. I have actually participated in writing government budgets more than anyone else here in this room. Actually worked on, in this Zoom, not room, working on government budgets and writing government budgets in hard times. And I had the experience speaking truth to power, being in the minority party, in the state legislature, and still being able to rise up to be a committee chair and be on the rules committee and be on the appropriations committee. And if folks honor me, you know, I'm here to ask for your vote. And if folks honor me with their vote on election day, I will fight for you every day in Lawrenceville, just as I fought for you every day in Atlanta. And that is what makes me different than anyone else on this stage, is that I'm willing to fight for you.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that, we will have a very quick lightning round. That is the end of all of our questions. And so we thank each of you for being here, and we'd like to go down the line and give you 30 seconds to close and tell us anything you'd like to know. So we will start with Nicole.
Thank you. My name is Nicola Hendrickson, and I'm running to be the next Gwinnett County Commission Chairman. I'm running because I believe in the future of Gwinnett, and I'm running because I feel that I can best represent the voice and the values of this community and of everyday working citizens, of people of color, and people that struggle with systemic racism and decades of policies that have left them from accessing opportunities. I have a heart for this community, and I hope that you will honor me with your vote on June 9th. You can learn more about me and my campaign at loveforgwinnett.com. And you can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at loveforgwinnett.com. I look forward to working with you, and I hope to earn your vote on June 9th.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Andy Morgan.
Hi, my name is Andy Morgan, and I would like to become Gwinnett County's next County Commission Chairman. I am not a politician. I'm an average citizen, just like all of you, who believes in the importance of serving my community. And I would like to be able to do so, and I believe that I'd be a very good advocate and representative for the constituents of Gwinnett County. As I've mentioned, my background is in corporate law. I'm a transactional attorney, which makes me able to work through the complex issues that we have to negotiate from the county level, from the representation of Gwinnett County as the County Commission Chairman. I'm also an advocate, which is part of what I do. And so I represent people's issues and concerns to the best of my ability as though it's my concern. And that's what I'm going to do as an advocate for you as your next County Commission Chairman, to make sure that your issues and your concerns are represented at the County Commission Chair level, and basically trying to negotiate with my other commissioners to the extent that there are 5 of us. It's not just me. We have to basically build consensus to the extent there are things that we have to decide upon as a whole. So my name is Andy Morgan. Please look me up. My website is electandymorgan.com. Again, I'm looking forward to becoming the next Gwinnett County Commission Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Desmond Nembhard.
Yes, my name is Desmond Nembhard, and I'm running to be your next Gwinnett County Commission Chair. I'm a small business owner here in Gwinnett County. So with that, I will be a strong advocate for small businesses. I'm running to also improve our infrastructure and transportation in Gwinnett County, to create jobs, to improve our job creation in this county. I want to make sure that we have an all-inclusive government here in this county. This way, everyone can benefit. Also, to address our housing situation so that we can work on those who are homeless in our county. Again, my name is Desmond Nembhard. Please go to my website, electdesmond.com, where you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Desmond. Next, we'll have Curt Thompson.
So, yeah. So again, I'm Curt Thompson. I'm, a lifelong Gwinnettian, a long-term legislator. I have the experience and heart for this, and I am asking for your vote on election day. And I have, as I said in my last response, if you honor me with your vote, I promise you I will fight for you every day in Lawrenceville, as I fought for you every day in Atlanta and the legislature. We can build a bridge to Gwinnett's future that is bright and is a bridge that every one of us can cross, and every community can cross and have a part of building that. But we have to have that leadership and that vision to do it, and I'm offering that. You can go and check out my platform to see what that vision is, to see how you can be a part of that as well, volunteering, because we can always use more volunteers. There's only a month left. And there's 60-some thousand telephone numbers you got to call in a month since we can't canvass. But you can go to Curt for Gwinnett, that's CURTFOR Gwinnett.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. And would love would love the chance to continue serving our community and making sure that Gwinnett can be that shining city on a hill that we have always tried to be, and make sure that that shining city on a hill is one that shines for everyone.
Thank you, Curt. And lastly, we have Lea Thompson.
Thank you. Once again, thank you for having us here this evening and giving us this opportunity to speak to you. I am Lea Thompson. I'm running to be the Democratic nominee for chairman of the Gwinnett County Commission. I have spent my entire life in Gwinnett County. I've spent my adult career trying to make my community a better place, working in civic organizations, working in my church, working through my law firm as a small business owner. And I've worked in local government. And working in local government for all of those years, I've seen how important local government is to each of us. It touches our lives every day, whether it be through zoning decisions, whether it be through how your water and sewer get to you, what the roads look like, or any other issue that affects you every day of your life. And it is important that we have somebody who both has experience and has a vision for wanting to make this county more progressive and doing the things that need to be done to make us leaders in transportation, redevelopment, and all sorts of issues that are going to be facing the next commission chair person. I believe that I have the experience and the passion to be able to do that job. And so I'm going to ask you to please go to the bottom of the ballot on the Democratic ticket and vote for Lea Thompson as your next commission chair. I thank you once again for the opportunity to be here tonight. Thank you.
Great. I'd like to, on behalf of the Gwinnett County NAACP, Nicola Hendrickson, Andy Morgan, Desmond Nembhard, Curt Thompson, Lea Thompson, David Post, who was unable to get back in. I want to individually thank you all for showing up, for being patient, and for answering these questions for the diverse communities of Gwinnett County. We feel that there were a lot of answers that we need to ponder about, because this is a huge decision. And the person who sits in this chair will be leading Gwinnett County, a county with a budget of $2.8 billion, education in the billions, 2.2. Everyone looks at this county as a flagship in the state. So everyone is making sure that this position will be the premier position in this county, who will be making directions, directives, and setting a standard. And we're looking for a standard, and you, each and every one of you, will be measured. Again, and I'm holding that bar high, very high. I want to thank Simeon Harris. I want to thank our PAC chair, Amirah Lawson, for her hard work in putting this all together. And again, I want to thank you again, the candidates. Be blessed. The Gwinnett NAACP is here. We are available, and we're just beginning in Gwinnett County for 2020. Everyone have a, Simeon, let you take this out. Simeon Harris.
Thank you all. This will be posted to YouTube and Facebook, so I'll make sure the link is available for each of you. So thank you again for your time, and you all have a wonderful evening.